What's up, everyone? My name is GOCARLO. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're doing an interview with Bob Stevenson, who made this book, Comic Convention Programs. If you want to check him out, all the links are in the description. This is a really cool book about the history of Comic-Con. So this guy has a collection of really old fan magazines dating back all the way to the 1960s. This shows you the beginning of Comic-Cons, how far we've come. But please, guys, leave a like on this video, write a comment, check out the rest of my videos. I also live stream on Twitch. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter, and join my Discord where we talk more about collecting. What caught my eye right away was when I saw this book. I didn't know what this was. I thought this was an original Steve Ditko, and then we began talking, and this is actually a book about the history of Comic-Cons and brochures and fan magazines. I thought that this was a Steve Ditko drawing, but then you explained to me that this was a Comic-Con brochure, front and back, from Steve Ditko.
If you put it online, put the QR code so people can go see the insides of these early convention brochures.
Oh my god, is that for sale? The Steve Ditko?
It's not a Steve Ditko drawing, but it is. So 1965, this guy Bernie Bubness brought it to Ditko and said, can you draw something for the cover of my comic convention, the first comic convention? So Ditko drew this on the master. After the convention, 100 people, 120 people or something came. He mailed a copy of this. Here's the back cover with the mailing address would go there. This is Bernie's address, and you would open it up and see this. And inside was like a count of what happened at the first comic convention. So what we did is we took and made that the cover to a collection of all the early convention brochures. So this is 1965, 1966, 1960. This is in New York, 1966 also, 67, 68, 69, 1969. This is Detroit. Then you got the first San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic Art, the first Comic Art convention, Disneyland convention by Kirby.
This is your book?
Right, so we printed it's a fan item, so we printed a few different ones. I did it with Desert Island Books in Brooklyn. He did the printing of the silk screen and the cover, and then we paid someone to bind it for us and everything. He did all the graphic design. They're all my collection of comic convention brochures.
How'd you build up that collection of that kind of stuff?
I have about...
Have you been going for a long time?
Yeah, I have like 3,000 or 4,000 of these books that you've never seen. So in the 1960s, kids who were fans of comics, they didn't have the internet, so they had this was a way to communicate with other fans. You make a little zine, comic fanzine, and then inside would be like news. Here's like a list of books for sale. Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about the book is the diversity of Comic-Cons. Like, you got, Carl Barks, who did, Donald Duck and Uncle Scrooge and all that, holding a copy of Howard the Duck, which is sort of a mockery of Donald Duck. Opposite, that same year, you had a convention with Frank Thorne and Red Sonja, which is a totally different genre of comic, the fantasy, sword and fantasy stuff. You got, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman in 1981. Same year, you have the EC convention where there was all about censorship in comics in the core of the 50s. So we kind of put them next to each other to have a nice juxtaposition of what comics are all about. But you don't want to spend $50 on a brochure that you don't know what's in it. So we figured, let's let you know what's in it. Maybe it can inspire people to go out and hunt these things down and collect them. Harvey Kurtzman, who drew for Playboy, who did Mad Magazine and worked for Playboy, opposite, Donald Duck and the New Con in Boston. It's quite the contrast.
So awesome. Oh yeah, this is a real gem.
And you got Spider-Man opposite, I don't even know who that character is, but Paul Gulacy did some great art in the mid-70s on Master Kung Fu and other things. There's Jim Starlin and we like this one together because you got Starlin on one side, almost the same pose out of this woman that you have out of The Thing by Jack Kirby. Same year these two happened on opposite coasts of the U.S.
So Jack Kirby even did art for Comic-Cons.
Yeah, right. So they would have paid him probably to do this one. It was a slick brochure.
Yeah. And that's how it was. It was just a job.
Kirby did a lot of these covers. I mean, there you go. Neil Adams, Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby, but that's repurposed art. Neil Adams again, Kirby, Steranko, Kirby, Everett, Kirby. Any more Kirby? That's it. Here's one last Kirby. 68. Or 60, I guess that's 66.
Yeah, this is crazy. Is this before most of his Marvel stuff?
No, this is 66, so he was already well known.
Captain America.
At that time, they were going to some of these shows. Ditko, I believe Ditko may have even gone to this show, that first show. Like the internet of, the eBay of the old days. And then there would be news in here, there would be advertisements. Everything the internet does, these fanzines were doing for kids back then. And then there would be stories about the Black Cat comics or whoever else. With amateur illustrations. They mostly traced these from the old comics.
That's what that reminded me of, was a lot of the Bill Finger stuff when you were talking about it.
Yeah, the Bill Finger story and Batmania Annual, it has the letter that Bob Kane wrote back to defend his creation of Batman and his drawing of it.
Have you ever seen the documentary on Hulu, Batman and Bill?
Yeah, so I don't know if it made it into that, but fanzines got involved in that. So Bob Kane was speaking at a convention in the early 70s, I guess, or mid 70s. And Jerry Bales, one of the guys who made these fanzines, stood out in front of it with a pile of handouts and handed out a piece of paper called A Finger in Every Plot. And it was about Bob Fingers really behind it. So it started kind of a battle between the two of them. That battle played out in the pages of Batmania fanzine, where Bob Kane wrote a letter to Batmania and said, basically, no, I did do Batman, and it wasn't all Bob Finger. And so went kind of back and forth through a couple of letters and things. But yeah, the stuff in that movie, I haven't seen the documentary, but I assume it's the same story.
That's in it.
Yeah. But the finger in every plot letter is kind of a cool letter to get a copy of, because he literally handed it supposedly out in front of the
So is there any copies of that in existence?
Yeah, I owned one. I sold it to a Batman collector a while back.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
But yeah, the fanzines are a neat. It's a rabbit hole you're going to go down.
Do you find them on eBay?
No. Well,
if they come up, or
they're super expensive when they're on eBay. I try to get to know the guys who did this stuff, and when they're ready to sell it, they know I'm a buyer of this kind of stuff. And actually, it's pretty close to a Steve Ditko drawing, because Steve Ditko would have drawn the guy that printed this when he was 16 years old, Bernie. Steve Ditko drew Bernie says Steve Ditko drew directly on the master, and then he printed from that. Yeah. So in a normal comic book, he draws on there, someone else inks it. Steve inks some stuff too, but someone else would ink it, then it gets photographed, then it gets shrunken back down or printed, and then distributed. This thing he drew right on the printing sheet, and they printed right from that. So arguably this is one step removed. To find the original brochure, they're super rare. There were only 150 or so printed, and you'd pay a few $1,000. Yeah, I have a copy of it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's where this came from. I had a copy.
What's the name of this book?
It's just called, we kept it simple, Comic Convention Programs. And it was a collaboration between Desert Island and myself. We used my books and their printing and silk screening and risograph printing.
Oh my god.
Now there's some neat stories associated with this stuff. Yeah, definitely get a link to that up. I also have a Facebook group called The Comic Barn, where I share obscure zines and books like this.
And what's your name?
Bob Stevenson. So I just want to kind of share the excitement that kids had for comics back in the 60s. I'm not that old, this is before my time, but I think it's kind of cool that they were already doing a lot of the things that we now do on the internet, discussion forums, were their letters, LOCs they call them, letters of comment. You had articles, you had news. Stan Lee used to write, they used to send copies to Stan, and he would have Flo send a letter back, you know, to these guys.
Seriously, guys, I'm gonna be checking this out, and if you ever see him or this book at a convention, you should definitely check it out, guys.
That's the checklist of 7-Eleven cups that you could get for free when you got a Slurpee. So this is the checklist. Most of them got checked off. This is a clean one. So that's kind of a cool item if you're in the, instead of having to buy all 50 cups, you got all the art for all of them right there.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And how many of these could be left if kids were checking them off? Some kids cut them out and saved them, like clipped them and stuff too.
This guy told me he knows like the guy does like Ninja Turtle promotional art, and that's like original art. And then look at that SpongeBob. That's SpongeBob art. I never saw the SpongeBob art yesterday. Next to the Ninja Turtle, that's SpongeBob. Like Mr. Krabs is on there, Squidward. Bro, look at that, Cartoon Network art. Ed and Eddie is on there. Oh, that's the cover. That he did. That's the original to the cover of that. That's the original ink, and that's the cover for Cartoon Network. So, what the hell?
So, Jacob is a friend of mine. I buy art from him whenever he offers it at New York Comic Con or wherever. All this is, I mean, this is production artwork. So this is used to do either T-shirts or backpacks. This was in the SpongeBob comic book. That's in a book called Annihilation with Gamora on the page and Ronan the Accursor. This is 1970s art from Iron Fist. This is a guy, Aaron Lange, out of Philadelphia, who's, I think he's an up-and-coming neat artist. He's been doing it a while, but doesn't have a lot of notoriety. Mike Zenkpiece, that's just a friend. Tom Morgan, early commission from the 90s, and probably the Cartoon Network.
Yeah,
I collect art as well.
The Cartoon Network. How'd you get that? That's crazy for us.
The artist Gary Fields is a friend of mine, so we hang out, we trade, we buy, sell from each other.
Dude, that is a crazy piece. How much are you asking for that? Do you know?
A few $100. A bunch of hundreds.
And what about the SpongeBob or the Ninja Turtles?
SpongeBob is more reasonable. This one's like 700 out of the Ninja Turtles. Oh,
what time is it?
These two are a little more reasonable.
I really like that Ninja Turtle art, even the SpongeBob. It's only four?
This one $300. This one I guess I would let go at 250. 200. I would do 200 on that and 300 on that. But yeah, they're good pages.
Bro,
and you get what do you get on there? You get SpongeBob somewhere. Where is he? There he is. He's in the ring. And ticket number 1 at the first Comic-Con was purchased by a guy named George R.R. Martin. Game of Thrones.
It was really him?
Yeah, George Martin was one of the original big fanboys of comics. Yeah, Jacob's good. Hit up Jacob online. He sells his original art, and they're fair prices. I boost him a little bit when I sell it.
Do you know where I could find him?
Yeah, I think he's on Facebook. He's
what is
probably
his name?
Instagram. Jacob. Here, take a picture. Jacob Chabot. He does a lot of licensing art. So My Little Pony. No, I don't know if he does My Little Pony. He does Hello Kitty, he did for a while. SpongeBob, Turtles, Transformers. He's done a bunch of licensed art.
Yo, thank you so much, everyone. And thank you to everyone I make videos with. This video was really awesome because I got to tell you a little bit about the history of Comic-Con. Thanks to Bob Stevens, who made this book and used their collection to give us a little bit of the history about Comic-Cons, man. This is from their collection of Comic-Con fan magazines and brochures and programs, and they made a book out of it. That's really awesome. But guys, hit that follow button, leave a like, write a comment, and check out my channel. Don't forget to share this video with everyone. I'll see you next time. We have a lot on the way.